They have no fucking. It's ridiculous. Tonight we're gonna have to move our bridges. No.
Okay, guys, I think we're about ready to start. So this is Bystander Intervention and Drink Safety. It is Wednesday, November 10th at 7 p.m. And we're just going to start off with some introductions.
My name is Meredith. I am the volunteer and outreach organizer of It's On Us UC.
Okay, and I'm Cole. I'm the EOP coordinator for Pi Lambda Phi fraternity. So our first section on the discussion is going to be, what is sexual assault? We'll just keep it like that.
Okay. So sexual assault is basically any sexual contact or behavior that is not given with consent between both parties. And then that is another one of our next topics is consent. So which is basically any given response to something. It can be sexual or it could be non-sexual. Something as simple as like a yes or a no, something like that.
I'll close the door. And then why is sexual assault not only a woman's issue, but also a men's issue?
So there's a lot more men that get sexually assaulted than a lot of people think. It's not as spoken about. I think about 7% of men during their undergraduate degrees get assaulted. That's obviously kind of an estimation because it's not reported nearly as much as when women get sexually assaulted.
Okay. And what are some ways that you can protect both yourself and others from sexual assault?
And so not only can you educate yourself, you can also be aware of the situations you're in. If you're out with friends, hanging out with friends, just being aware of things that are going on, and then do some bystander intervention, which is our next topic, which is being a bystander.
So what exactly is a bystander?
So a bystander is someone who basically just is in part of a situation, watches the situation happen. A really good example of being a bystander is the show What Would You Do? Like they have like these crazy things happening and you'll see how people react if they don't react at all or if they step in, things like that.
Can anyone be a bystander?
Yes, anyone can be a bystander. It kind of depends on how you portray yourself in that situation if you pay attention.
Okay. How do you identify when an active assault is occurring?
So you can identify when an active assault is occurring. If you see one person, like there's two people together, if you see one of them visibly uncomfortable, trying to move away from that person or not talking as much, things like that. And then
do you have to wait for an event to become a crisis in order to intervene?
You do not. If you ever think that someone is uncomfortable, just a simple like, hey, are you okay? Can work perfectly fine. And even if it's just like one simple act, like someone pulls away from somebody, something like that, you don't have to wait until something else happens.
Okay, so our next few questions are going to be about sexual assault on campus, both in general and specifically with UC. So how common is sexual assault at UC?
So for women in their undergraduate degrees, about 20 to 25% get sexually assaulted. Like I said earlier, 7% of men get sexually assaulted during their undergraduate degree. Something that has been a trouble about UC, I believe that there was around like 30 or so sexual assaults reported to UCPD last year, and not many were ever looked upon or even like emails sent out to people, letting people know that these things happened. So it's definitely something that not a lot of people realize is going on, and a lot of people don't report either.
What resources are available on campus for students and what do they cover?
So things that are available for students, so obviously It's On Us UC, is a great resource. There's also UCPD, you can always go to them and report something. The Title IX office, which is over on Calhoun Street, deals with all sexual assaults. And then the Women Helping Women Center over in Steger, I think,
yep.
Does a lot of that as well.
And then also, as for any mental health crisis or trauma, there's always CAPS, which is also over on Calhoun Street. Okay, how are survivors impacted by these options or lack thereof on campus?
So obviously having enough support for survivors if they go something traumatic is very important. Just with mental health, it can cause a lot of things to come about, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, things like that. So the presence of them is very good, but then also like the absence of them or people not knowing that these resources are available can hurt a lot of people if they don't have someone to talk to and that they don't have help.
Okay. How do you support a survivor?
So give them basically all the support, listen to them talk, give them any feedback if they ask you questions about things, anything like that. If they need to, if you think like, if they have depression, it's getting a little too bad, reach out to somebody, try to get them help if they need it, like professional help, like therapists, things like that. But just lend an ear if you could.
How rare are false allegations?
False allegations are not rare, or very rare, sorry. They're very rare. A lot of people say that they happen a lot, but they're not. I think that 0.7% or somewhere around there of sexual assault allegations end up being false.
And then why are these topics more important than ever? Because events are coming back in person now that COVID is starting to wind down. And this means that events with alcohol are going to be back in person. The potential for assault and the potential for violence has greatly increased now that students are back on campus. So knowing how to intervene in a potentially dangerous situation is that much more useful. Okay. And then our last few questions for the discussion portion are going to be making change. So what can we do to change this?
So something that we have with It's On Us is we have these little stickers. They're little QR codes. I have one in my water bottle.
On my laptop.
If you scan it, it's Bystander Intervention. So it is something that you can keep handy. We also have, I know that Cole handed up earlier, like the cup condoms, like you put over your drink if you're ever home.
Yeah, and we will talk more about those at the end of the general presentation because we have some ways to kind of increase the availability of those on campus. Then last question, what is rape culture and how do we end it?
So rape culture is basically like the normalization of rape or sexual assault. It's not seen as something that is that important necessarily, especially in like fraternities and sororities. It's kind of normalized or like normalized. They're not seen as being very important. So kind of bringing in like the importance to that, or making sure that people know that that's not normal, that's not something that happens every day or should happen. Then also educating on like bystander intervention, things like that.
Thank you. So we're going to move over to It's On Us's presentation on bystander intervention. I will let you take the reins.
Okay. Okay, so It's On Us is a student-led organization with the intention to prevent sexual assault on the University of Cincinnati's campus, raise awareness, and create a community of support for survivors. So sexual assault in campus culture, this is a little bit what I said earlier. So 1 in 5 female identifying and 1 in 14 male identifying students across the US will be sexually assaulted during their time in college. Rates are higher for students of color, LGBTQ students, low-income students, and students with disabilities. Of those, less than 10% of sexual assaults are formally reported. Again, it's kind of an estimate because we're not exactly sure about those numbers. About 40% of rape victims suffer from severe emotional distress, which will require mental health treatment. And then 34.1% of students who've experienced sexual assault drop out, which is higher than the overall dropout rate. So here's just our exec. We have 2 co-presidents, a secretary, a treasurer, and then I'm the volunteer and outreach coordinator. Okay, so what is primary prevention and bystander intervention? So primary prevention includes those preventative measures that come before the onset of something happening, things that you can do personally. Bystander intervention is when a bystander takes action to intervene in an act of violence or the act leading up to the violence. A bystander is anyone who's present when a situation occurs, but is not directly involved in that situation. So how can you intervene? Bystander intervention teaches you 5 basic steps. So first, notice the event, interpret the situation as a problem, assume personal responsibility, know how to help, and step up. So you can, if you see anything, consider which intervention style is best. So you can do it directly, directly interacting with the person involved. You can do it indirectly, asking others to intervene, like calling 911, or you can distract by creating a diversion to diffuse the situation. A lot of people with that, they use like humor, like they make a joke, something like that. Be aware of safety, never put yourself in harm's way. Intervene early if you can before that problem becomes a crisis, and remain calm with gathering information and providing support you can. And we actually have a video. I'm not sure if it'll play because it didn't play earlier.
Maybe right click it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think the sound's
My
on.
computer might just be on mute. Let's try now.
You see someone who may have had too much to drink. Is someone paying her unwanted attention or isolating her from her friends?
What would you do?
When you see a risky sexual situation, it's time to step up and step forward. Bystander intervention can stop sexual assault before it happens.
You can choose to step up in a way that feels right for you.
You can step up and be direct.
You can ask if the victim needs help.
Hey, are you okay? Or can I give you a ride home?
If you know the perpetrator, ask him or her to leave the potential victim alone.
Hey man, she looks drunk. You need to back off. You can step forward and create a distraction.
Strike up a conversation. Don't I know you? I think you're in my history class. Or, you guys want to order pizza?
Creating a distraction gives people the chance to cool down or even walk away. Maybe you don't think you have the power or the skills to manage the situation. You can step up and call for help.
In that case, engage more allies like a mutual friend or the party host.
Remember, step forward safely for your sake and for the person you want to help.
The goal of bystander intervention is always to keep the problem from escalating.
When you choose to be an active bystander, you become part of the solution.
Let's all step up and step forward. Everyone needs to show up to prevent sexual assault.
Video is like kind of cheesy, but it does definitely have some good information in there. And then the next, what is consent? So consent occurs when one person voluntarily agrees to the proposal or desires of another. And then we also have another video. Sorry, you might have to turn. Maybe fine. Oh, maybe this one's not gonna work. Okay.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you can make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware that they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important bit, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you're entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say, "No, thank you," then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please, that's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind, and you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea, and they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea, and they said yes, but in the time it took you to boil the kettle or brew the tea and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down, make sure the unconscious person is safe, and this is the important part again, Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they are safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week, or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you are able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
So that video kind of just dumbs down basically what consent is. And then these are our Instagram and then our campus link. If you wanted to, if you do like join our campus link, we'll send you any emails about upcoming events, things like that. And then also on our Instagram, you'll see that. And then we post a lot of really good resources on there as well. Okay, well, that is all. I thought we had some other ones, but that is all of my presentation.
Okay. So that's the discussion, and then on my mouse. Let me see. Over here. So with It's On Us, we did make some handouts. So you guys can take a look when you're eating your pizza. These have information on drink safety, the resources on campus, statistics and facts on sexual assault, and how to safely intervene and stopping sexual assault. These are going to be distributed to the different diversity centers on campus, the Women's Center, LGBTQ Center, AACRC, all those. And additionally to the RAs on campus, and they'll be posted in the dorm so everybody can see those. We made one for Bystander Intervention, and we also made one with tips and tricks on mental health. And then those have resources and coping mechanisms on the back too. And then what I'm really excited to tell you guys about. So during tabling, I went in the back, we started handing out what are called cup condoms. They are barrier methods for protecting your drinks. So they go on top of your drinks like this, and then you stick a straw through it so it prevents anybody from slipping anything inside of it. There's a couple different brands that do them. This was just the cheapest one for this little pilot program that we started. And I'd love it if you guys all scan this QR code or the one up here and took a survey so we can show both the Fraternity and Sorority Life Office and the Interfraternity Council, who both have some extra funds that they aren't using right now, that there is both a need and an interest in having these on campus, and we are trying to get them to provide them for students for free, both at their office, like the Student Wellness Center does with barrier methods for contraception, and at events that will have alcohol, because all FSL events have to be registered, and they have to be registered if they have alcohol, so they know what ones already have them there. Okay, then a little bit about EOP, and if you guys want some, or you want to hand them out to your friends, we do have some extras. We hand it out during tabling. And then a little bit about EOP. The Elimination of Prejudice Foundation creates long-lasting community change by addressing the underlying differences between people that prevent progress. By setting the conditions for sensitive societal conversations to take place, the foundation promotes a better understanding among people. The EOP Foundation is the philanthropy part of our fraternity, and EOP is one of the focuses of each individual chapter when they come up with these educational and informative events. Okay, and for previous recordings and resources, like the flyers we've had here, we've had previous events on how to vote during the pandemic and as a college student away from home, how to be a better ally to the LGBTQ community, African American community, Asian American, Pacific Islander. And last year we had an event with It's On Us on believing sexual assault survivors. You can access all of those either through our link tree or our QR code. Do you have any questions on any of the content that was covered tonight? Okay, Well, thank you guys for all coming. Pizza is in the back. All we ask is that you sign